The earth trembles beneath a storm of steel. The air is heavy, thick with the weight of an unspoken fate. The wind howls like a mourning specter, carrying whispers of warriors who have fallen before. The land stands still, caught in the eerie silence before chaos erupts. Overhead, the sky darkens, not with clouds, but with the looming shadow of death itself. Then it begins. A slow, deliberate rhythm, footsteps, heavy and unyielding, marching in unison. The steady pound of iron-clad boots against the hardened earth. Then another sound joins in, a deep, resonant thunder, rolling across the plains. Warhorses, their massive bodies covered in steel, their riders gripping weapons that have ended 1,000 lives. The earth quakes beneath them, as if the land itself fears what is to come. In the distance, a formation tightens. Shields lock, spears lower, eyes, sharp as honed blades, scan the approaching storm of iron and fury. These warriors do not waver. They do not falter. They do not retreat. For them, there is no surrender, only victory or death. The battlefield breathes, alive with tension, a heartbeat away from being swallowed in carnage. A single breath hangs in the air, then steel meets steel. No words are spoken, for there is nothing left to say. The time for honor, for diplomacy, for mercy has long passed. Now only one truth remains. By nightfall, one side will be nothing more than a memory. The wind swept across the open plains, carrying with it the scent of war. Two armies stood facing each other, separated by a vast stretch of battlefield that would soon be soaked in blood. On one side, the Spartans, a force of sheer discipline and tactical brilliance, stood unmoving. Their bronze helmets gleamed under the sun, and their red capes fluttered like battle standards in the wind. Clad in bronze cuirasses, greaves, and arm guards, they formed a perfect phalanx, shields locked, spears poised. Their formation was impenetrable, a wall of death that had stood against countless foes throughout history. Opposing them stood the Knights of the Iron Cross, warriors forged in the chivalric traditions of the medieval world. These men were not mere soldiers, but lords, barons, and champions of the Western kingdoms. They wore full-plate armor, their breastplates and gauntlets reflecting the golden light of the setting sun. Upon their mighty warhorses, draped in thick chainmail and barding, they exuded the power of an indomitable force. Their banners, emblazoned with heraldic symbols, rippled as they awaited the call to war. The battlefield, a mixture of dry grasslands and rocky terrain, would favor neither force entirely. The Spartans relied on discipline and precise formations, while the knights had the advantage of mounted cavalry and superior armor. Both armies knew that this battle would be fought not only with weapons, but with strategy, endurance, and willpower. A lone war horn shattered the silence. The knights surged forward, their war horses thundering across the battlefield. The earth trembled beneath the weight of the charge, the sound of metal and hoofbeats merging into a terrifying roar. The lances of the knights were aimed forward, poised to pierce through flesh and armor alike. The Spartans did not flinch. As the cavalry bore down upon them, they braced their shields, setting their spears in a defensive position. The first wave of knights crashed against the phalanx, and the impact was thunderous. Lances splintered against the bronze shields, some managing to pierce through, but the Spartans held firm. Warhorses reared, impaled on spears, while knights who had been unhorsed were dragged down into the melee. The second wave followed closely behind, swords and maces swinging down upon the Spartan ranks. The phalanx staggered, but did not break. The Spartans fought with relentless precision, thrusting their doru spears into the gaps of the knight's armor. A knight fell, his throat slashed by a Spartan's xiphos, while another was knocked from his horse and trampled under the charge of his own men. The bronze wall of Sparta held, repelling the initial assault. Realizing that cavalry alone could not break the phalanx, the knights withdrew momentarily. From the hills, archers took position, and a storm of arrows rained down upon the Spartan ranks. The warriors raised their shields, the thick bronze deflecting most of the missiles. But some found their mark, piercing exposed flesh. Several Spartans fell, their red cloaks stained with the blood of their fallen comrades. Sensing an opportunity, the knights advanced on foot, wielding greatswords, warhammers, and axes. Their plate armor made them nearly impervious to slashing attacks, and their brute strength was unmatched. The Spartans, lighter and faster, relied on their agility to evade crushing blows, delivering precise strikes to the weak points in the armor, the gaps beneath the arms, the visors, and the back of the knees. The battle turned into a brutal, close-quarters melee. The air was thick with the stench of sweat and blood, and the cries of the dying filled the battlefield. The knights used their massive swords to cleave through Spartan shields, while the Spartans countered with relentless thrusts, stabbing into exposed flesh. A Spartan warrior, bloodied and exhausted, sidestepped a knight's downward strike and plunged his blade into the knight's visor, sending him crumpling to the ground. Another Spartan, wounded but unyielding, tackled a knight from behind, smashing his skull with a shield bash. As the sun dipped lower, the battlefield became a wasteland of fallen warriors. The knights had lost the advantage of their cavalry, and their heavy armor became their greatest weakness. Tired and slowing, they struggled against the Spartans' unyielding endurance. One by one, they fell, overwhelmed by the relentless assault. In the center of the battlefield, King Leonidas III and Lord William Blackthorne faced each other at last. The Spartan king, clad in a simple bronze cuirass, his muscles glistening with sweat and blood, stood firm, his spear ready. Opposite him, Lord Blackthorne, his ornate plate armor dented and smeared with gore, gripped his massive warhammer, breathing heavily. The two warriors circled each other, both knowing that this duel would decide the fate of their armies. Blackthorne struck first, swinging his warhammer in a devastating arc. Leonidas dodged, the weapon slamming into the earth, sending dust flying. With lightning speed, Leonidas lunged forward, driving his spear toward Blackthorne's exposed side, but the knight twisted away at the last second, the tip scraping against his armor. The duel continued, brutal and unrelenting. Leonidas was faster, landing precise strikes, but Blackthorne's armor absorbed most of the damage. However, the knight was growing weary, the weight of his armor slowing him down. Seizing the moment, Leonidas dodged another hammer swing, spun behind Blackthorne, and drove his spear through a gap in the knight's armor. The weapon pierced deep, blood spilling onto the dry earth. Blackthorne staggered, dropping to one knee. His breath came in ragged gasps as he looked up at his enemy. He had fought valiantly, but he had lost. Leonidas withdrew his spear, watching as the knight fell onto his back, his lifeblood pooling beneath him. The remaining knights, seeing their leader fall, began to retreat. Some fought to the death, unwilling to surrender, but the battle was lost. The Spartans, though heavily outnumbered at the start, had triumphed through sheer skill and unwavering discipline. As silence fell upon the battlefield, Leonidas III stood among his warriors, surrounded by the bodies of the fallen. His men, though weary and bloodied, had once again proven that Sparta was eternal. The battle had been fought, and only one warrior race remained standing. The Spartans had defied time itself, proving that no amount of steel, no army of chivalry, could stand against their iron will. Battered but victorious, they marched forward, leaving behind a battlefield that would be remembered for eternity. The night was quiet. The Spartans, though victorious, had suffered heavy losses, but they had proven, once again, that discipline and unity were stronger than steel and chivalry. Leonidas III turned to his warriors. Spartans, we have shown the world that time cannot erase our legend. We are Sparta, and we will never fall. The survivors raised their spears, their voices echoing into the heavens. Far away, in the halls of history, the names of Leonidas III and the 300 Spartans would live forever. The knights had fought bravely, but in the end, only one warrior race could stand victorious. And that race was Sparta. The end.